Welcome back to Explorando Infinitum. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and controversial topics in the Catholic Church, the prophecy of St. Malachy and what it could mean for the future of the papacy. With the current Pope's health in question, many are wondering if we're on the brink of a historic moment, the election of the 112th Pope, who St. Malachy called Peter the Roman. But what does this prophecy really mean? Is it a divine prediction, a clever forgery, or something else entirely? And who could this mysterious Peter the Roman be? St. Malachy, the Irish bishop behind the famous prophecy, was a remarkable figure in the history of the Catholic Church. Born in 1094 in Armagh, Ireland, Malachy O'Morgair came from a devout family and showed an early inclination toward religious life. He was ordained a priest at the age of 25 and quickly gained a reputation for his piety, humility, and dedication to reforming the Church. Malachy's most significant contributions were his efforts to bring the Irish Church in line with the broader practices of the Roman Catholic Church. At the time, the Irish Church had developed its own unique traditions, which sometimes diverged from Rome. Malachy worked tirelessly to standardize practices such as the liturgy and the administration of sacraments, and he introduced the Roman liturgical rites to Ireland. His reforms earned him the respect of both local clergy and the Vatican. In 1139, Malachy traveled to Rome to meet with Pope Innocent II. It was during this journey that he reportedly experienced a vision of all the popes who would lead the Church until the end of time, 112 in total. Each pope was described by a short Latin phrase, often cryptic and open to interpretation. These phrases, known as the prophecy of the popes, have fascinated scholars, theologians, and conspiracy theorists for centuries. Malachy's life was marked by miracles and acts of profound faith, which contributed to his canonization. He was known for his healing abilities, and many stories of his miraculous interventions were recorded after his death. For example, it was said that he once restored sight to a blind man and cured a dying child through prayer. These miracles, along with his unwavering commitment to the Church, led Pope Clement III to canonize him in 1190, just 45 years after his death. Now let's take a closer look at the prophecy itself. For example, Pope John Paul II was associated with the phrase de labor solis, which translates to of the labor of the sun. Some interpret this as a reference to his long and impactful papacy, while others point to the fact that he was born and died during solar eclipses. Similarly, Pope Benedict VI's motto, Gloria Olivae, the glory of the olive, was seen as a nod to his efforts to promote peace within the Church. But the prophecy that's captured the most attention is the final one, Petrus Romanus, or Peter the Roman. According to St. Malachy, this will be the 112th Pope, and his reign will coincide with the destruction of Rome and the final judgment. This has led many to speculate that the election of Peter the Roman could mark the end of the Catholic Church, or even the world as we know it. However, the authenticity of St. Malachy's prophecy is hotly debated. The manuscript containing the prophecies was first published in 1595 by a Benedictine monk named Arnold de Wyon, centuries after St. Malachy's death. Many scholars, including historian Robert B. Coote, argue that the document was likely a forgery created to influence the papal election of that time. Despite this, the prophecy continues to captivate the imagination of believers and skeptics alike. Now let's turn our attention to the current Pope, whose health has taken a dramatic turn in recent weeks. As of February 2025, Pope Francis has been hospitalized for pneumonia, a serious condition for a man of 88 years old with a history of respiratory issues. The Vatican has confirmed his hospitalization, stating that he is receiving intensive medical care, but the press and independent sources suggest that his condition is far more critical than officially acknowledged. According to reports from major outlets like Reuters, the New York Times, and La Repubblica, the Pope's health has deteriorated significantly over the past week. Sources close to the Vatican have indicated that he is in a fragile state and is not expected to survive. These reports have sparked a wave of speculation and concern not only among Catholics, but also across the global community. The Vatican has urged the faithful to pray for the Pope's recovery, but the tone of their statements has been somber. leading many to believe that the end of his papacy may be near. This situation has prompted the Vatican to begin discreet preparations for the Pope's potential passing. Anonymous sources within the Holy See have revealed that officials are drafting contingency plans, including the logistics of a papal funeral and the organization of a conclave to elect his successor. While the Vatican has not officially commented on these preparations, the press has widely reported that the Church is bracing for a historic transition. Historically, the death or resignation of a pope is a pivotal moment for the Catholic Church. The last papal resignation was in 2013, when Pope Benedict XVI stepped down, citing his advanced age and declining health. This was an unprecedented move in modern times, and it set a new precedent for how the Church handles the transition of power. If Pope Francis were to pass away, it would trigger a conclave, a gathering of cardinals to elect a new pope. The process of electing a new pope is steeped in tradition and secrecy. Cardinals from around the world gather in the Sistine Chapel, where they vote in a series of ballots until one candidate receives a two-thirds majority. The election is conducted under strict confidentiality, with the famous fumata bianca, white smoke, signaling to the world that a new pope has been chosen. Given the gravity of the current situation, many are already speculating about who might succeed Pope Francis. This is where St. Malachi's prophecy comes into play. If the 112th Pope is indeed Peter the Roman, his election could mark a turning point in the history of the Catholic Church. But who could this mysterious figure be? The name Peter the Roman is rich with symbolism. St. Peter, the first pope, is considered the rock upon which the Church was built. His connection to Rome is also significant, as he was martyred there and is believed to be buried beneath St. Peter's Basilica. So who could this Peter the Roman be? One theory is that the next pope will be an Italian cardinal with strong ties to Rome. This would align with the literal interpretation of the prophecy. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the current Secretary of State, is often mentioned as a potential candidate. His first name, Pietro, is the Italian form of Peter, and his role in the Vatican gives him a deep connection to Rome. Another possibility is that Peter the Roman refers to a pope who will embody the spirit of St. Peter. This could mean a pope who focuses on strengthening the Church's foundations, particularly in the face of modern challenges like declining membership, scandals, and calls for reform. Some speculate that this pope might even be a reformer who bridges divides within the Church, much like St. Peter did in the early days of Christianity. However, it's important to note that the prophecy is open to interpretation. Some believe that Peter the Roman could be a symbolic figure rather than a literal one. For example, the name might represent a pope who unites the Church in a time of crisis, regardless of his actual name or origin. Ultimately, the identity of Peter the Roman remains a mystery. But one thing is clear: the election of the next pope will be a momentous event with far-reaching implications for the Catholic Church and the world. One of the most intriguing aspects of St. Malachi's prophecy is its connection to the end times. According to the prophecy, after the reign of Peter the Roman, the city of 7 hills will be destroyed and the dreadful judge will judge the people. This has led many to interpret the prophecy as a prediction of the apocalypse. The idea of the end times is deeply rooted in Christian theology, particularly in the book of Revelation. Revelation describes a series of cataclysmic events that will precede the final judgment, including the destruction of Babylon, often interpreted as Rome. This has led some to draw parallels between St. Malachi's prophecy and the biblical narrative. However, scholars caution against taking these connections too literally. As historian Bernard McGinn notes, apocalyptic prophecies often reflect the anxieties and expectations of the time in which they were written. In the case of St. Malachi's prophecy, it's possible that the reference to the destruction of Rome was meant to symbolize the fall of a corrupt or decadent society, rather than a literal prediction of the end of the world. Moreover, the Catholic Church has traditionally been cautious about endorsing specific prophecies or end times predictions. The Catechism of the Catholic Church emphasizes that the timing of the end times is known only to God, and that believers should focus on living virtuous lives rather than speculating about the future. While the connection between St. Malachi's prophecy and the end times is fascinating, it's important to approach it with a critical eye. the prophecy may be more about symbolism and metaphor than literal prediction. Despite its enduring popularity, St. Malachi's prophecy is not without its critics. Many scholars argue that the document is a forgery created centuries after St. Malachi's death to influence papal elections. Let's take a closer look at some of the key arguments against the prophecy's authenticity. First, there's the issue of timing. The manuscript containing the prophecies was first published in 1595, more than 450 years after St. Malachi's death. Historian Robert B. Coote argues that the document was likely created during a period of intense political and religious turmoil, when various factions within the church were vying for power. The prophecy may have been used as a tool to sway public opinion and influence the outcome of papal elections. Second, many of the phrases in the prophecy are vague and open to interpretation. For example, the motto for Pope Francis, De Gloria Olivae, has been interpreted in various ways, from a reference to his humility to a nod to his efforts to promote peace. This ambiguity makes it easy to retroactively apply the prophecies to specific popes, even if the connections are tenuous. Third, there's the question of why the prophecy wasn't mentioned in any historical records before the 16th century. If St. Malachi had truly foreseen the future of the papacy, one would expect some mention of his vision in earlier documents. The absence of such references suggests that the prophecy may have been invented much later. While these arguments cast doubt on the authenticity of St. Malachi's prophecy, they don't diminish its cultural and historical significance. The prophecy remains a fascinating example of how people use symbolism and storytelling to make sense of the world around them. Finally, let's talk about the mystique of papal names. One of the most intriguing aspects of St. Malachi's prophecy is the idea that the 112th Pope will be called Peter the Roman. But why has no pope taken the name Peter since the first pope? The tradition of papal names dates back to the early days of the Church. The first pope, St. Peter, was given his name by Jesus, who said, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." This name has since been seen as sacred, and no pope has dared to take it, out of respect for the original apostle. Some scholars, like church historian Eamon Duffy, suggest that the reluctance to use the name Peter reflects a deep humility among popes. By choosing other names, popes signal that they are successors to St. Peter, but not his equal. This tradition has been upheld for nearly 2,000 years, making the idea of a Peter the Roman all the more intriguing. If the next pope were to take the name Peter, it would be a historic break with tradition. Some believe this could signal a new era for the Catholic Church, one in which the Pope seeks to embody the spirit of St. Peter in a time of great change. Others see it as a fulfillment of prophecy, marking the beginning of the end times. Whatever the case, the mystique of papal names reminds us of the deep history and symbolism that surround the papacy. The election of the next Pope, whether he is called Peter or not, will be a moment of profound significance for the Catholic Church and the world. Thanks for watching. What do you think about St. Malachi's prophecy and the idea of Peter the Roman? Do you believe it's real, or is it just a myth? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Until next time, purge explorando infinitum, for in every question lies the spark of discovery.